The decade that began in 2020 has undoubtedly been more turbulent than the previous ones, a point at which the tectonic plates of history have begun to move faster. There are many doubts and uncertainties about what will happen in the world. Will 2023 be a year of mild recession or economic transformation? Are resources running out? Is a new war coming? What about food? Are we heading towards utopia or technological dystopia? Today you will see information on these topics, and if you like these videos, consider liking, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment, because that helps me a lot with my work. Food crisis. In the last few months, we have seen how inflation has given us a truce. Energy prices have come down, and some bubbles are beginning to cool in some cases, or burst in others. However, not everything is cause for celebration. While inflation figures are falling, so-called core inflation is rising. This especially affects sustainability products such as food, whose access is becoming more and more complicated for households. In Spain, we have seen how in the last few weeks a check of €200 has been approved for families earning up to €27,000 gross per year. At the same time, VAT has been reduced or withdrawn from some products. Indirect taxes are the most unfair of all, as they punish pockets regardless of wealth. It is important to point out how meat and fish consumption in Spain has collapsed in recent months. These two products have also been excluded from the VAT rebate. Why? Well, although it may still seem strange to some, it is clear that the government wants to progressively remove these foods from the human diet. Instead, we see how new foods such as insects are casually included in these VAT reductions. What is happening in the countryside? While food prices are rising and products are scarce, more and more farms are closing. The rising costs of diesel, plastics, fertilizers, etc., have hit the primary sector. Also bad weather. The drought has caused a 50% drop in oil production, 80% in almonds, with falls of up to 90% in the Valencian region, 26% in cereals. Exporting countries such as Vietnam and Thailand have raised rice prices on the international market. In countries such as the Netherlands, the government asked farmers to use less fertilizer on their crops. This in itself would cause a drop in the production of an agricultural export powerhouse. Then, it went further, and 3,000 farmers were forced to sell their property to the government to meet the requirements of the nitrogen ministry. Mild crisis or paradigm shift. Against this backdrop, it is clear that the next few years are going to be more difficult economically. However, we are in times of great uncertainty, and the question is, how difficult are they? There are those who point to a mild recession, others to a crisis driven from above. Others believe that we are heading for a collapse of the social model. Those who believe that 2023 will be a normal year make rather boring forecasts. And it is better that the forecasts are boring. GDP will show negative growth, and some people will experience moments of severe economic hardship. However, the surface of the world and the day-to-day life of most people will remain the same. Others believe that things are more serious. History moves in cycles. In times of boom and bust, the advocates of mild recession believe that these ideas are the product of fevered imaginations. The historical cycles camp is in the minority. Their views believe that we are in the early stages of a historical change of major proportions. There are some books that talk about this. For example, Charles Hugh Smith quotes some of them in an article for his blog of Two Minds. He talks about David Hackett Fisher and his book, The Great Wave, Price Revolutions, and the Pace of History. Here, he discusses how major episodes of inflation have brought conflict to societies and paved the way for decay. Also interesting in this line is the work of Joseph Tainter, The Collapse of Complex Societies. In it, Tainter comments on how when a complex society begins to have problems, its solution is usually to add more complexity. If we assume that our current society had such problems, adding more complexity would be exactly the solution proposed by organizations such as the World Economic Forum, with its fourth industrial revolution. According to Tainter, such solutions are doomed to failure, resource scarcity, or an era of abundance. Those who advocate the theory of economic degrowth believe that it will come about by hook or by crook. There would be no resources or energy to continue to support economic progress. There would be a shortage of gas and oil, and a complex and rich economy is impossible without a cheap and abundant source of energy. Nor would the energy transition be possible, since it would require abundant minerals that are either available or are located in isolated areas without infrastructure. Another resource that, although abundant, may be depleted due to the heavy use we make of it would be sand. Yes, sand. 50 billion metric tons of sand are consumed every year. It is used in construction as an important component of concrete. It is also used in the production of glass, which some are touting as a solution to the excessive consumption of packaging. It is also used in silicon for the production of technological devices or solar panels. There may even be wars over sand, and so, in the conflict between China and Taiwan, the island's government is complaining that China is dredging its waters as part of maneuvers in the middle of the latest hostilities. China, for its part, does not believe it is doing anything wrong, as it claims the island as its own territory. This point of view may invite pessimism. However, it is also true that human ingenuity tries to find solutions to the problems that stand in its path. Solutions. Japan is a rich country, a technological power, demographically aging, an ally of the United States with a historical rivalry with China. China is the world's leading producer of rare earths and has taken control of its supply chain. Japan wants to get involved in deep-sea mining, exploring the oceans for treasures, in this case rare earths. Under their waters, there is mud abundant in these elements, and last September, they succeeded in pumping mud to a depth of 2,400 meters. By 2024, they hope to reach 6,000 meters. What is in these deep waters? Lutetium, uranium, thorium, yttrium, europium, terbium, dysprosium. With this mining, Japan intends, among other things, to drive the next generation of semiconductors. In the depths of Minami Torishima, a tiny island of 1.2 square kilometers, it is speculated that there may be yttrium for 780 years, europium for 620, terbium for 420, and dysprosium for 730. If you want more information about deep water mining in areas like Clarion Clipperton, I leave you this video I made in the past. What conclusion can we draw? Well, in the next few years, we will see a conflict between the collapse trend and the technological progression. The question is which of the two will come first? Which one will prevail, and will mark the future of our lives? Not only the ocean waters will be exploited in the future, but also the riches of the asteroids will be exploited. We have cases such as Psyche 16, which could bring down the world economy. Psyche 16, an asteroid 226 kilometers in diameter, is located 370 million kilometers from Earth. It is speculated that it could hold $10,000 quadrillion in wealth. Nickel, iron, silver, copper, enough to relieve the shortage of many metal resources on our planet. There is a battle of the powers in space, and NASA will send a spacecraft with a view to reaching the asteroid by 2029. It is possible that deep-sea and space mining companies will be a sector that will have a great economic growth in the coming years. Although it may be too early, It is good to be aware of the advances and movements in these areas. We cannot forget the Arctic, the abundant resources found there. Oil, gas, metals, interesting for finding new sources of energy. Also, the new routes that will open up on the frozen continent will be the subject of dispute between Russia and the Western world. Alex Craner, writer of The Trend-Following Bible and a fund manager, scorns so-called fundamental analysis and embraces technical analysis. The reason? News flows, he says, would be useless and narratives are made up as they go along. What can we conclude? The world is facing a shortage of available resources to support a growing population with a rising consumer demand. This is why there are theses that rationalize the possibility of a social collapse. This has already happened at other times in history. There are cycles of population growth and decline, times of misery and violence, and times of peace and prosperity. There are others, on the contrary, who believe that more resources and wealth will come tomorrow. Asteroids, deep-sea mining, the Arctic, these are criticized by the former as dreamers loaded with unrealistic optimism. What do you think?